Hey, hello, I'm Jim Barlow of Red Hat. I'm a solutions architect for Openshift, and I want to give you a 5-minute overview on Red Hat's Advanced Cluster Security for Kubernetes, which is a mouthful. Let's just call it ACS for short. So ACS works for Openshift or any other Kubernetes cluster. In this case, I have a dashboard that gives me a single reference to multiple clusters. I just happen to have only one cluster installed and running today, but I could have any number. And I can see my vulnerabilities, whether they're critical, high, medium, or low from this dashboard, my benchmarks for compliance, which might be something I'm interested in for PCI or NIST, um, violations by cluster, most dangerous representations of deployments, all these sorts of things. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of the actual functionality of a couple of functions. So first of all, here's a namespace that's running a microservices demo with a number of different deployments. And as I click on each deployment, I can see whether they're talking outside to external entities or just talking inside. I get an idea of the communications flow. It would be nice if we would batten down this thing so that it's more secure, because right now I can see that I have 11 flows in and out to external activity or entities. And if I look at all that are allowed as well as active, I've got 22. So there are 11 mystery um, concerns in terms of permissions to talk outside. We've got a network policy simulator that can automate the generation of these complex network policies. I can generate and simulate network policies based on what's been going on in the cluster for the past X number of time periods that I can select. Here I'll apply the network policies that have been generated. I can unapply them if I don't like them. And now I'll go back to active. I still have 11 active discussions going on to and from external entities. But in terms of active plus allowed, I have 12, meaning I took 10 extraneous non-necessary flows and got rid of them by locking this down a little better. This helps us our security profile quite a bit. Now let's talk about vulnerabilities and security violations. OpenShift has policies that ship with it for ACS. They ship for ACS, so there are all kinds of policies here that are in place and warning you of issues with the cluster. I've modified one here to make it enforce the policy. So I took the log4 shell, made it a minus log4shell to differentiate it, and added uh, the capability to enforce at build and deploy time of these images and deployments. The end result is a more secure sort of a cluster. Now, if I'm a developer up front working with these clusters, it would be really nice if I scanned images before I use them. And there is a facility to do that. I can do an image check. And here, this image check failed my log4shell policy, and it suggests possible remediations. Update the library, remove the class that has the violation in it. So it actually tells you how to deal with this. As well as if I want to put this into my pipeline, I can go ahead and run a scan. And this makes it easy for my programmers then to deal with all this information in a standard industry JSON format. So that's well and good. But what if somebody were to intentionally or unintentionally deploy that bad image just the same? And I'm about to do something untoward in that respect. So I'm going to go kubectl, apply a file called logstash.yaml, and this will create a deployment with 2 pods running of that log stash. Let's go look at OpenShift. So when we deploy something in OpenShift, we get this circle, and a blue circle means it's working. This one's not working. Let me click on this and see why. I didn't get my pods. They were scaled down to 0 thanks to something called StackRox policy a log for shell, and this prevented the bad image from running. So that's all goodness. If I go back to my console here, or dashboard, I can see I have two critical vulnerabilities, and it is just what I showed, that we did enforce this, and it's there. Good way to clean that up would be for me just to go ahead and get that deployment and delete the deployment, and those should be gone, and they are gone. My dashboard now shows 0 critical issues, although I want to prevent that from happening in the future. Lastly, we integrate with everything. The integrations let you use the StackRox scanner elsewhere, lets you scan Docker Hub, Google's Container Registry, AWS's, use other scanners in place of that, work with Quay, all the cloud providers, signature utilities like Cosign, and all the notification automations and logging automations you might want. So we make it very usable in your enterprise through these integrations and through our API capabilities that allow you to integrate with anything. I hope that helps, and thank you for your time.